Thank you very much for having me. Well, I grew up in Cameroon to the age of 6 years old, and then at the age of 6 we moved to Germany.
What is that traumatic thing that happened to you when you were 6 years old?
In Germany, me and my brothers were molested by a priest, Catholic priest. But the way she died was very.
And what advice would you give to someone who's going through trauma, especially as a man? Hello everyone, welcome again. This is the day that the Lord has made and we shall rejoice in it. I am so excited, I am so happy because this is something that was a vision of 1 year ago and now it has become a reality. And you know, this far the Lord is Ebenezer. I'm so excited also that I'm having an amazing guest who's gonna be sharing his amazing story, and we're gonna be hearing it as candid as it can be. This is not made up fiction. This is lives changing, life transformation of how you know, someone goes through a journey of so much, but at the end of it, the redemption, and you see the grace of God in a person's life. So I'm so excited. I'm looking forward to, you know, even me being inspired. And without further ado, welcome.
Netflix. Netflix, they have to give you a record. They have to give you a deal, man. the way you made it is like it's gonna be a movie.
Really? Thank you so much. So, how are you, Mufasa?
I'm doing fine. We thank God.
Wow, we thank God. I know you, but they don't know you. So, introduce yourself.
Well, thank you very much, by the way, for this this honorary introduction. Now, it was so fancy. But anyway, let's cheers.
Let's cheers.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome.
Hadassah.
Yes.
So, well, let me start with my name. My name is Asa Edwin Su. That's my birth name. As most of you know me, it's called Mufasa. So I'm an imperfect person. You know, I'm an imperfect person made perfect. So that's one thing about me is that I have an energy, I have a joy in me that has been given to me since I was a child. That's Mufasa. Who you see is who you get. I'm serious.
Definitely. And then where did Mufasa come from then?
Yeah,
if I may ask.
A lot of people always ask me this question. It came from my ex-girlfriend. Now, she gave me this name based on the fact that my real name is Asa, and then Muf is an affix. So she said, "Hey, you are a Leo. Yes, you were born in August. You are a Leo. So why not just call you Mufasa? Because by then I had this crazy hairstyle. So that's how the name came about, and then it just stuck on me. Everyone started calling me Mufasa.
Oh, that's amazing. That's nice. So could you tell us maybe how your background? Did you grow up here? Did you grow up in Africa?
Well, I grew up in Cameroon to the age of 6 years old, and then at the age of 6 we moved to Germany. Okay. With my parents. I stayed in Germany till I was probably 14, 15. Then we went back to Cameroon. Okay. Yeah. So and then from Cameroon I moved to South Africa and then to Hungary. So that's how.
You had quite some transitions. I can see that. A lot. Wow, that's amazing. And tell us about also your journey of faith with God. When did that start? Is it like your background? Did it start like from, you know, most of us when we talk about our journeys of faith, we talk about from the perspective of we grew up in a church home, a religious house where our parents instilled that in us. And some journeys of other people start when maybe they're in school or they get that revelation or insight, or something just happens and their life transforms. So what was your starting point or your turning point?
Well, that's a very nice question again. My starting point with the journey of faith, I got it from my mom. Luckily, my mom gave me the journey of faith when I was a child. You know, and that's the best thing that she has given me. You know, that Christ, she gave me Christ. And when I was a child, she always read the Bible and she always told me about God. You know, we were raised Catholic.
Okay.
So we had our first Holy Communion in church. We had a confirmation and baptism. So and every Sunday we were going to church. So we were like in church goers till an incident happened with us. Then we left the Catholic church, but the Christianity has always been in me.
Oh, wow.
So since from childhood, even though you know. Along the way, and you know how we are human beings and we fall many times, and then for the fact that my mom gave me this Christianity and this Christ, I've been able to wake up every time I fell.
That's amazing. It's good to hear that. You know, we're living in a dispensation where our kids are not taught the true gospel, and there's a lot of lack of identity formation, because once a child doesn't have an identity growing up, you know, when a person doesn't have an identity, it's like a blank book. So anything can come and, you know, scribble down, write anything, and you find that most kids as of now are going through so much identity crisis. They don't know who they are, what's their purpose, and I feel like whenever you find that our parents or us who grew up in a very, I wouldn't say strict religious background, there is this strict religiousness in it where Sunday you have to be in church. And there was the parents who, like for me, my parents were very cool. For you, it is a choice. You want to be in church, but for us, we will show you God. We will show you this is the direction, you know. And you find that it is very nice when you hear people who come from that, because I feel like church does give identity to kids when they're growing up. They understand things in a different light, and it's so humbling to get that from a point of background. And you realize that when like years have passed on, and you realize the way you're saying it, I like how you're saying it, that your mom taught you God. And that's very essential in the life of every child. So now coming into now your walk with God, your journey, is there a time that you felt like things shook? Is there a time you felt like you do not want to walk that path anymore? Like you totally do not want to walk that path anymore? Because I think sometimes people get it twisted, in as much as we say that finding Christ, you have life. Jesus told the disciples, follow me, carry your cross, you know. And sometimes when we're supposed to carry our own cross, people don't end up in the finish line. And as you said, we're human beings. We tend to fail. We tend to fall. And that's why God's grace is sufficient. We do not, there's nothing we do to achieve grace. Grace finds you as you are. And so for you, what was like one experience you ever had that was really trying for you? Like it even shook your faith and you felt like, you know what, I can't do this.
Well, I think for me it was when I lost my younger sister in 2010. And when I was in South Africa, because my younger sister, she was one of my best friends, and she was so, you know, when you talk about a person being so obedient and pure, my younger sister is the first person that comes to my mind. You know, she was like a, you know, whenever she comes, it's like there's light over, you know, and she was a little bit chubby. I really miss her, you know. She was a little bit chubby, so I used to call her Fatty Boom Boom. That's you know, we were young, man. We used to tease her a lot. So when she passed away in 2010, it really shook me, and I was asking God a lot of questions. How can? Because the way she died was very, the way she passed away was very. It was not a natural death, you know. She gave birth and then died immediately after because she had a cesarean cat.
I'm so sorry.
Nah, it's fine, you know. The reason why I would tell you why I'm fine is because of Christ. It's because of I started seeking God afterwards, after many years. And but when she passed away, that was a moment that my faith, I questioned my faith a lot. I questioned if there was a God existing. How could God allow this innocent girl, young like that, very young, just 22 years, 23 years old, die after giving birth? She just saw her baby, and then after she died. So I was saying, oh God, how can you do this? Because me, I've been a sinner. I'm sinning everything.
Okay.
I was like, hey God, so you leave me and you went and took her.
Yeah.
So that was the moment where I really, my faith was really shook. But as God is great.
Yeah.
He uses everyone, and he's always everything that he does is wonderful.
Yeah.
So he has a reason for everything. So I believe he called her. She's actually lucky that God recalled her. Because that's the place we are all aiming to go to.
Yes.
Yeah, so that was the moment.
I'm so sorry about that.
No, it's fine.
I can imagine it was, we all handle pain differently.
Yeah.
And I think if there's one emotion, and speaking from a psychologist's point of view, that nobody's ever prepared for is pain. And pain also people respond differently to pain.
Yeah.
And pain is one of the things that truly you can question. But I also want to ask you, I know we've talked before, and you shared one time a very sad story of something you've gone through, something very traumatic. And today's episode is basically to talk about trauma in men, especially from a background of an African culture where men are taught you have to be strong, you don't show emotions, you have to be a man.
Yeah.
And it's so diverse because even as East Africans, people may say, okay, maybe it may vary because, there's the north, there's the south, east, west, or something like that. But generally, even in Kenya, men are taught to be, protectors, providers. They're taught to work, and to provide for the family. And it's an issue that generally now you find that it's very rare to see African men going for things like therapy. And even someone will shrug out and say, oh, I'm a man. What is all this about? I can't be a CC. I can't start crying over issues. I can't start, And sometimes I feel, because I have a brother, I feel like there are things that are hidden in them. Even, like, for example, when I was growing up, looking at my dad would, when he had a rough day, he wasn't the kind to talk. He would, as long as you guys don't get on his nerves, and he wants his quiet time to think of what he wants. And we're children, you come, you're jumping, and then you. And then when that sternness comes, you're like, hey, what happened? You understand? So it was very rare, and you could even our mothers tell us, you don't give a man his space. You don't, let him be in his zone, let him deal with his mind, let him deal with his issues. When he's ready to talk, he'll talk.
Yeah.
So let's transition back to you as a child. What is that traumatic thing that happened to you when you were 6 years old?
Well, I think for me, I went through different phases. I think the trauma originated first from the household. I think that many African kids growing up, but it's not something negative. I don't look at it like a negative thing, because our parents, like for example, the father figures were not very close. They are not so close. They don't bond a lot with their male children in terms of giving them guidance throughout. They are most of the time they're very harsh. So they have this
to make you harsh. They think it's a way of toughening you up to the world.
Exactly. But it also comes from the lack of knowledge. They give just what they have.
Exactly.
So
or what they saw.
Exactly what they saw from their parents, the way they were raised as well. So that was first the first trauma.
Yeah.
Then it came the second one in Germany when I was me and my brothers were molested by a priest, Catholic priest. So that was like the second phase of the trauma. You understand? So there were different phases. But at that moment, when I went through the second phase of my trauma, it's only when I grew up that I started, I started realizing what that man did to us and my brothers. So it came later on. It didn't really come when I was young, when I was a child.
Wow, I think that also, I think it's also like what I was saying earlier, when a child doesn't get the identity from a parent and also society, meaning the church, then it's like a blank space. And now you're put up in a world where, people are coming up with so many things and so many agendas in their minds.
Yeah.
That's why you're finding now people are identifying as this, as that, as that. You
Yeah.
know, the whole agenda of God is changing you understand?
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you've talked about the whole thing of the household, because when a child doesn't have peace at home, where else can he or she get peace? And especially for a male child.
Yeah.
And then also the aspect you've talked about, our parents raised us to be tough. I don't know, I wouldn't say, I'm a first child. My brother happens to be the only male in our house, and he's the third born. And you'd expect if we had changed roles and he was the first child, there would be that sort of difference. He'd be like, for us, he'd be like our second father. If our father says something, he in return would be the one to like because there's that role they have given the male child, which again is very much okay. And what you said, fathers have never, what they saw their parents do, that's what they do with us.
Yeah.
That toughening you up and all that. And I never say it is bad, but I feel like if only our parents understood that teaching us, it is good that they taught us to be tough, but at least that emotional closeness to understand that we could easily come to them. There are things I know maybe when you are young, you could, even if you went through them, you couldn't go to your father and be like, oh, Dad, this happened. You'd be scared.
Yeah.
You'd be like, now how do I even approach him? How do I even tell him what happened? How do I even, you understand?
Yeah.
And it was the same for the same for me as I growing up. And it's really a problem. I feel like it's really a problem when you experience trauma outside, you experience trauma inside. So where is your safe space? So what was your safe space for you? Like, here is a household, there is so much trauma. The society that is supposed to be protecting you, including the church, has offended you. So what would run through your mind, or where would you find it to have like a safe space?
A safe space is Christ.
Yeah.
You have to seek the kingdom, and you have to seek. That's why it says, seek ye the king. The Bible says, seek ye first the
kingdom of God,
and every other thing shall be added unto. So I think the safe space was again coming back into the light.
Yeah.
And following the light. It's very important to follow the light, because even when you have troubles, during that time you're following the light, your troubles become light.
For sure.
It becomes lighter. Because with Christ in you,
yes,
the troubles become lighter, your burdens become lighter, because to transverse in this world without Christ, it's not possible.
It's not possible. I usually say God can do without man, man cannot do without God. And how did that affect you? Now you transitioned, you're saying that now you understood yourself, now you understood now you recalled at what age, like in your teenagehood or when you were like in your 20s, did you understand, whatever they did was bad. It was not supposed to happen. What was the first thing that came to your mind? Did you hate yourself? Did you ask God questions? What was the reaction to that?
Well, I mean, the reaction actually was, I was very, used to be very angry with my dad. I never had, I just recently started having a very cordial relationship with my father. You know, I love him a lot. So, but and during that time, I was like very
Disturbed.
disturbed. That's why I left. That's the reason why I left Cameroon in the first place, 2007, because of my father.
How old were you then?
Damn, I was in my I was like 27.
27. Okay.
Born in 1984. I left in 2007.
Okay, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, it's a long time ago.
Wow. And then so now you transition, and now these things, the resentment, the anger, and then now you move to South Africa.
Yeah, I moved to South Africa.
Now South Africa opens doors for you, and you know you're in a new system.
Yeah.
I believe things were so different from what you saw in Cameroon.
100%, 100%. It's a whole different culture. So the ways of doing things there is also very different. The food, everything, the mentality. So you need to really adapt and be flexible.
Be flexible
and understand it for you to survive in that society.
System. Okay.
Yeah.
So now, tell us about now in South Africa. I know this is quite a very touching part for you because in South Africa, I know you spent quite a long time. It was a 1 year, 2 year journey. It was a journey of 10 years. And in your journey of 10 years, you got a family.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. Now is Mufasa now the Edwin who has carried all these things, the transitions, the baggage, the resentments.
Yeah.
Had you healed when you entered into marriage?
Not to be honest, not really. I think, you know, when I left Cameroon, I left with a lot of hurt. You know, it was a lot of. I had a friend of mine back from in high school. So he was in South Africa, and then we were in talks, and he said I could come over. So, but the main reason why I moved there is because I wanted to get away from my dad.
Okay.
So when I was in South Africa, I was living a fast life, like very fast. I met someone. I fell in love with this girl, and then we got married, and then we had a family. And during that time, during that time, there was also a lot of pain and a lot of hurt between me and her, back and forth.
Yeah.
But it's also lessons, lessons that I've learned that has helped to shape me right now where I am, because it opened all the mistakes you do in life is like a lesson. It's like your journey, your experiences. You can use it to help someone else, or to influence their ways of thinking. Yeah.
So how now your relationship with your dad, if I may ask, here you are as a father. What came to, let me ask something. I know it's a very beautiful thing, especially when you welcome a child. I haven't experienced that, but I'm just saying that I've seen that. It's a very beautiful thing. A child is a blessing.
Of course.
100%. You get a call, or you're at the hospital and you're told, now Edwin, you're a father. What was running in your mind at that point? Were you like, I want to be a different person. I don't want to be what I saw or what those traumas I carried. Or was it also were there questions of, how will I raise this one? How will I raise this child? What kind of a father do I want to be? What kind of a role model do I want to be? There's me who is going through a lot. And then there's another human being now here who depends on you and looks for you to give him or her an identity. How was that for you? Like,
that's the thing, you know. Looking at it in hindsight, I do understand that I still had inherited the trauma from my dad, because I was a little bit shitty, you know.
Yeah.
But then I was there. I was present. That's the thing. I was present. I've always been present when I was there, back in SA. But I think that I was also a little bit, in terms of the trauma that I gotten, it affected me somehow. Yeah.
Because I know normally, especially when you're like I said, when you do not have an identity of a father figure, or rather when you don't have an identity of who you could look up to and say, okay, I would want to emulate that.
Yeah.
It becomes so hard to give another person an identity, especially if you become a parent and
That's
you're
true.
carrying all these things, these traumas and these things, carrying them over. And it reminds me of the story of Jabez in the Bible. The story of Jabez is very unique because Jabez was named by the mom, was named pain by the mom. Jabez meant pain. And if you read the Bible, the prayer that he makes, he says that, God, for the sake of my children, I do not want them to go through what I've gone through. Yes, I was named out of pain, not for something that I did, but for the sake of those kids, do not allow them and the generations to come. And God honored that prayer. And it just goes to show how, God can change, God can just redeem, to save.
100%.
You understand? And I can imagine, that's why I was saying that, I can imagine what was going in your mind, that now you have someone who's looking to give you an identity, and you yourself, you're still trying to figure yourself out. You're trying to heal, you're trying to soul search. Who is Eddie? Is this the life I want? I came here running away from, somewhere else. I came here to find solace, and now this is a whole different life. And also I would like also to, maybe you can say something about in relationships, because many people now, we date, and the worst part about even dating someone who's going through trauma is the fact that just because you identify with a traumatic event and the person has a similar traumatic event doesn't mean there's compatibility there. But you find people think they're compatible because of the things they have been through, and they don't choose to heal, and they just enter into something, and they don't, you realize later on there's some, whatever you thought, there's the bed of roses phase 1, and then these two reality starts to kick in after you've dated, after you've told each other that you cannot breathe without the other one, and all that, yeah. But now you're in a marriage, you're going through your own things. Did you find it so hard to open up your feelings as a man also to this person that you loved? Because when you love someone, you open up to them, you're vulnerable to them. Did it stop you from did you create walls?
No, not really. I mean, we were very open up. We were very close. She definitely knew a lot about me and so much about my past as well, because she was not just she was a friend. We're still friends up to now.
Yeah.
One of my closest friends. So she knew so much about me, but it didn't change the fact that
There was something.
yes, that the problems were going to come eventually.
Yeah.
But I believe that anything that is not in the presence of Christ,
Yeah.
from the beginning,
Yeah.
will cause problems within. Because if you are having a relationship with a person and then you don't base it on Christ,
Yeah.
who is the rock, eventually it's going to crash.
It's gonna sink. You have to stand on a solid ground.
You have
that
to.
doesn't sink.
You have to.
I feel like it's very important that normally I find that African men are not the most easy to be so emotional when they want to say things. I mean, I've lived in Africa, I've lived abroad, and I can tell you how I see and how I've seen even on TV. We used to grow up and see how, a man would get all mushy and mellow, and you'd expect an Alejandro to come as an African man and be like, oh, these sweet nothings. The guy would be like, hey, you want in or out? You're wondering. You should go and sit down and watch some movies and know to approach me as a lady.
Yeah.
But then I didn't even look at our parents. I never saw my parents hug or kiss when I was growing up.
I saw my father, and I think they kissed twice. The first time, probably I walked into them,
Yeah.
and the second time was their anniversary when they were renewing their vows.
Oh, that's amazing.
But you know how African parents are there like that.
That's what I'm saying.
Most of them, not all.
And especially the men, they're not all mushy, mellow kind of thing. And
But I don't blame them, you know.
we don't blame
I don't
them.
blame them.
We don't
Yes,
blame them. That's what they found. That's what they saw, and that's what they were taught. And that's why I'm saying that it's kind of like it baffles me. And I sometimes, like I said, I try to think about my father or my brother when they're going through their pains and when they're going and they can't express themselves. You know, women, we are loud. We will talk. We'll be in a women's meeting. Maybe you had gone there for business. You hear someone tell, "Hey, my husband didn't even come yesterday. I don't even know what to do." And then they'll start brainstorming.
Yeah.
You understand? That elevates men. By the time a man opens up, I've seen, by the time he opens up about that thing has really pressed him to a corner that he doesn't have answers anymore. And anytime I've seen an African man cry, I know for sure, that man is at his end. Like, it's not easy to see such. But what about you? What did you do to, like, have you just said that, you know what, I've carried this baggage for so long. I know I was taught to be strong, but I can't be strong anymore. And I need to choose to heal. When was that turning point?
Yeah, I mean, it was, I think it was sometime last year.
Last year?
Yes, or year before last. But prior to that, during the coronavirus time, when I was by myself, I had a lot of retrospect about my entire life. You know,
Yeah.
I was questioning a lot of things and why. But it goes back to, I've always been trying to seek my purpose in life, and there's this itching feeling that I have in me that it keeps asking me, what's my purpose? Is this it? Like, is this it? Is this life I'm living? These things I'm doing back and forth. Is this all what God put me? I said, nah, it cannot be, man. It cannot be. There's something inside me that's burning. There's some kind of fire inside me that's burning. Then I started saying that I have to change. I have to change my way of living life. I have to live life with more meaning.
Yeah.
And how I can live my life with more meaning is by giving my life in completion to the one that created me, the manufacturer.
Amen. I believe that's really awesome.
Yeah.
It's interesting that, and also very that was a long. I feel like you were like the Israelites in the wilderness for so long. You've carried these things for too long, and God was just like, you need to realize this is a lot. Because whenever we carry trauma, and again, nobody goes looking for certain things like trauma. Trauma happens to us all, and trauma is it's very bad because it can easily kill.
Of course.
It's the easiest to kill. Why? Because you get trauma, you get depression, you get hypertension, strokes, and all these things that affect your nerves and the brain. Ulcers, H. pylori, and all these things that, these things affect you as a person. It affects your functionality. Yeah. And it deviates from what God says He has given us. In 2 Timothy 1:7, He says that I've given you the spirit of power and love and a sound mind. So whenever we are traumatized, we don't have the love, we do not have the sound mind, and we don't have the power within us to function as how God wants us to be, Exactly. So we are at a place of anything can happen to us. So even when the enemy comes through, there are no defense shields because you don't have the power. Your three things are put down. So any other thing the enemy will put, you're already on the ground. So it will be like, you're already on the ground. So whatever the enemy comes with, it's like a tumbling wall that completely kills you and buries you, And I want to also ask, how did your faith, or rather in this time that you said that it's been from last year or let's say 2 years.
Yeah,
now
2 years.
of your transition in healing, and I can say I've been part and parcel to see how you've really transitioned over the time, even how you talk and like the Eddie I met 3 years, if I may say, and the Eddie I talk to now is more faith inclined. The way you talk about God with so much passion, the way you always talk about Miles Monroe, and I found you with books, even walking on the road with books by Miles Monroe. I have seen this guy walk with books by Miles Monroe, which is so encouraging, right?
Yeah.
And for me, if there's someone I've seen have transitions, is you. And if you tell us, how was that? Like now building back your faith, healing from that, choosing to heal, because not many people choose to heal. People choose that, let the pain carry me away. This is me. They declare it. This is me. This is gonna be my life. This is gonna be my legacy. It's gonna be part of me. When did you say, now this is not gonna be me? This I'm not. And how have you been working out your faith?
When I realized that this is not going to be me, it's because I really want to enter the kingdom. To be honest with you, this is my personal opinion. Like no, I'm not joking, man. I want to enter the kingdom.
You want to meet Adam?
I will have
Abraham
to.
and ask them, you guys.
You don't understand.
You screw up.
You understand? That's why you see now, right now. Before I didn't really use my conscious.
Yeah.
The subconscious mind and the conscious mind. I did not really use any of them. I don't know what I was using. I was just
Every day goes. We wake up,
Then I started realizing that, man, this is dangerous. You
it's
understand?
very dangerous, yeah. When you live
This
without a
lifestyle,
purpose.
you know, because sometimes I feel like God gives you signs, mini signs.
Yeah.
He's not looking for a perfect being.
Yeah.
He's looking for someone that is striving, at least. He knows that. That's why he sent his son to come and experience it. His son knows that is life on earth.
Yeah.
It's not easy. But he said, "No, yeah, I've overcome it."
I'll overcome it, so that also you.
Also you can overcome it. So he knows that there's a lot of problems. He also promises you that you shall face many troubles.
Yeah.
I've faced them and I'm still facing them, but I'm facing them with Christ.
Yeah.
But for me, it was very important, because what my mom gave me along the way, I met people that gave me also the same kind of thing in supplication, in more. And when I started living, when I let go of those things and I started living life, like living the worldly life, sometimes it's very difficult not to be part of the world.
Yeah.
Because this world is so glamorous.
Yeah.
It's
always be pulled back. The streets will be calling.
Hey.
Mufasa, it's your time to arrive.
So I mean, for me, I think it's a continuous journey.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can slide off.
Yeah.
You can make one or two mistakes. But you make sure that
you come
back into the light.
The many times you choose to rise up from that.
Exactly. Never give up. Never let your faith surrender. Because that's the only thing you have. At the end of the day, if it's gone, it's kaput.
It's kaput. And what advice would you give to someone who's going through trauma, especially as a man?
I think that there are different ways to tackle certain things. People can seek therapy, and if people do not have the finances to seek therapy, they can seek therapy in Christ.
Yeah.
Where I think that God is the greatest therapist.
Yes.
If you have a Bible, you can also read your Bible. You can try to meditate on the Word of God and try to join a group of same like-minded Christians that are seeking Christ.
Yeah.
That's also another form. In my own language, is the best form of therapy.
Yeah, Jehovah Rapha keeps healing every day. Well, it's something that I believe that we should really enlighten people on, and especially in the male perspective. I love to advocate for mental health, and it's quite important to know that, the way you're saying, people to get therapy, people to get counseling. It's also good to have support groups that also people who can also pull you out. You know, when the way you shared your story, you never know, someone might approach you and tell you, hey, Mufasa, I'm going through the same thing you've gone through. How do I pull out of this? And you can be a blessing to another person.
I think that then, before we finish, the reason why God gives you your story or your journey is for you to share with someone else. We learn from our stories.
Yes.
That's the most beautiful thing.
You don't know they always see the glory, they don't know the story.
Exactly.
So thank you so much, Mufasa.
Hey, you're welcome.
For not just an amazing food, but also even sharing your story. And I hope that anybody who's watching, this becomes inspiring to you and also encourages you to choose healing. Do not stay there and say, okay, I'll fight this as a man. Don't bottle it all up. The society needs you, your family needs you, people are looking up to you. You are not a mistake. God knows your future. And you know, he says he has better plans for us, plans for good and not for evil, to give us a hope and a future. And there's nothing better than having God by your side, because there is no man who ever prayed, help me, God, and God denied help to them.
Exactly.
Read the story of Job. That was a man who went through trauma. And
a lot of trauma, and a lot of problems.
And you know how he finishes it in Job 42 verse 5? He says, I've heard you by reports, but now I see you. That really, really touches my heart in Job 42. To the interesting part of this show, we're going to be having our guest cook for us. I'm excited to know what's happening around here. So Mufasa, tell us, what are you preparing today?
So today I'm going to make a very special food for you. It's called gari.
Okay.
And granite soup.
Okay.
I'm going to explain to you the ingredients I'm going to use. So this is the last part.
Okay.
This is the gari. So this is what we're going to use to eat the granite soup. So for Cameroon granite soup, it depends. There are many ways of cooking it, but I like to cook it the way my mom taught me. And so one of the main ingredients is the obstacles, meat. Very important. So I have kept this one special. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
So we use granite. We use peanuts.
A peanut butter, because we don't have the granuts.
Exactly. We don't have the one that normally we roast and then we fry and then we grind it. Okay. So in this case, I'm using the peanut butter from here, and I liquidify it
with water.
With water.
Okay. Cool.
You know, to make it so that it's very, very
like a paste.
Soft, like a paste. Exactly. It's very important.
Yeah.
So, and we're also going to use spinach.
Okay.
It's very important, for health reasons. This is the janga. You know, this is a crayfish.
Crayfish.
Yes, this is grounded crayfish. So and then we have the onions.
And the garlic.
Normally I was supposed to also use ginger, but for the fact that my Molinex is not working today,
we'll do it next time.
Next time, no more. But it's still gonna be a miracle. Don't worry. Then obviously the tomato.
Okay.
So we're going to use the tomato.
And then you have the habanero pepper here.
Come on.
What are you forgetting?
Yeah, habanero.
Yeah.
Leave it like this because in case you don't handle hot, you want to squeeze it.
Okay.
Or grind it and fry it. We'll just put it in full.
Okay. And then the bouillon cubes. Tell us what you're going to be doing now.
So I'm going to show you how to make the granite soup. You put peanut coconut oil. Is this a healthier version of the oil? No.
Okay. So guys, the moment of truth is now. Mufasa, job well done. I'm telling you, the aroma in this kitchen was just, Now, the moment of truth, and I'm told that I'm not supposed to use a spoon or a fork. I'm supposed to use my hands. And yeah, I'm gonna use my hands and have gari and granite soup, right?
Granite soup, exactly.
Okay. So guys, as I eat, please swallow.
Let me first see how she reacts before I eat mine.
Wait. I need another bite. This is truly, you know, as we have ugali, we don't have gari. This is really nice. I love the soup. The flavor, the spicy. You guys love spicy. You? But it's so nice. It's, guys, you've seen the recipe. It's so easy to make. I've also learned this is something I'll be making. My bread price just went up. I'm learning all kinds of cuisines.
Bon appetit.
Thank you so much. So, merci.
De rien.
So thank you so much. See you next time. Same place, same time.
Ciao.
Bye. God bless you.